Each instrument with what it measures. The anemometer is this thing that spins around. It tells you wind speed. These little cups, as the wind hits it, it tells you the speed as this thing spins around. Usually you'll have a weather vane with it as well, because the cups themselves can't tell you the direction, but this weather vane will spin and tell you which direction the wind is coming out of. The barometer is this guy. There's different types of barometer. This is called an aneroid barometer. It's like a can, and as the air pressure gets higher, it squeezes the can and it makes this needle rise up. And then as the air pressure gets less, the can relax a little bit and the needle will fall back down. You can actually predict the weather with the barometric pressure, because as higher pressure comes in, we always associate high pressure with fair weather and low pressure with stormy, bad weather. As it squeezes the can more, this needle goes up. We see things like fair weather up here on the high end of the scale. But as it relaxes and lower pressure starts moving the area, we see rain and stormy area. Because remember, low pressure, like hurricanes, those are going to be the bad weather things, rain and storm. So this is a barometer. There's another type of barometer called mercurial or mercury barometer. This is an aneroid. But mercury barometer just has, it looks like a thermometer kind of, but it's got mercury in it, and the mercury rises and sinks in the tube based upon the pressure. The higher the pressure, it pushes the mercury up into the tube, and the lower pressure, it lets it fall a little bit. Sling psychrometers, these are how you tell how much moisture is in the air, the humidity. Basically, you got two thermometers on here. One's got a piece of cloth on it, and you wet that cloth. Put a little water on it. And one doesn't have a piece of cloth on it. They call that the dry bulb. So the wet bulb has the wet cloth on it. The dry bulb doesn't have anything on it. It's just a regular thermometer. And you spin it around in the air, and it determines how much humidity is in the air, because if there's not a lot of humidity, if it's very dry air, this will evaporate very easily. And whenever you have evaporation coming off an object, it cools it down, and you'll see the temperature of the wet bulb thermometer fall. If there's a lot of humidity in the air, well, you spin it around as much as you want, this thing's going to stay wet. It's like in the summertime, if you're sweating, you can't dry off. Your shirt just stays wet. There's a lot of humidity in there. There's just not many room for those water molecules to evaporate into that already saturated air. And so if it's very moist air, if it's saturated air, it's not going to evaporate much, and this thermometer is not going to cool down very much. And so you compare how much did this thing cool down, how much evaporation went on compared to the dry bulb, and use a chart, and using those two temperatures of the wet bulb thermometer and the dry, you can tell how much moisture is in the air. Again, the greater that it cools it down and evaporates, the bigger difference between the wet bulb thermometer and the dry bulb thermometer. Well, that's going to be the drier the air is going to be. And so you can determine how much moisture is in the air by how much evaporation comes off of that wet bulb thermometer. Thermometer, I'm sure you already know what that is. It's temperature.